Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? Alright folks, today's upload is a set of terrifying and chilling events and encounters that happened in one location. It also makes a theory that I had very solid. So quickly, briefly, the theory that I had during the times that I had looked into the animal attacks, air quotes, animal attacks, Tony Aarons, Amber Miller, Christopher Whiteley, the multiple folks that were in the Tazewell, Buchanan, Mercer, West Virginia area, and talking to subscribers, I had started to kind of notice a pattern. I myself am in recovery. I am celebrating 8 years in April. And I started to realize that a lot of people who have had experience with these creatures, Dogmen in particular, have had their own battle with substance abuse. And I don't know if there's a connection. I feel like there really is. Usually substance abuse with a little bit of not mental illness, but mental difficulties, bipolar, such depression, which go hand in hand with addiction. So I've really kind of looked into it quite a bit. And it makes sense, first of all, because I believe that these creatures, in particular, Dogman, once again, are attracted to people who have kind of a hardship. I'm trying to be careful with my wording. One, because I'm an addict, and two, I don't want to offend anybody. A weakness towards drugs and alcohol. And I'd have to say a large number of encounters with Dogman is in that kind of realm. The experience that I'm going to share with you now or experiences has a lot to do with what I just shared, what I just said. Addiction, mental illness, and that these creatures really do prey on the vulnerable. And I'm not saying addicts or alcoholics are vulnerable. We're not weak people. We are not. Especially once we get sober. We're very strong people. So this is pretty much in a set of events in one location, and it really does make my theory pretty solid. So the experience takes place in Montana. I'm not going to say exactly where it is. I'll say it takes place in Montana, and it is surrounded by national forest. It's a fairly large facility, almost kind of like a little village of its own. Person reached out to me and wanted to share, asked me not to tell you or share the name because it's an active drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. Now, there are horses and there are a lot of kind of buildings on this lot. Beautiful, beautiful lot. So this person that reached out to me was a former counselor there. He has since moved on. About 2 months after this experience happened, it happened about 4 years ago. A little less than 4 years ago. So about 3.5 years ago. Now, they have living facilities on this ranch. We'll call it a ranch. And so there's homes where clientele can stay. There's obviously administration buildings. There's stables for horses and barns for supply. It's a very large facility, land-wise and building-wise. Large staff. Staff is probably 1 staff to 2 clientele. They have like this thing that they do at the end of the week, beginning of the new week, in the warmer weather, and they kind of have like a fire. A lot of it takes kind of a lot of their therapy and stuff takes kind of a Western aspect, like kind of a Western aspect, Native American. So they have a fire and they discuss how their week and day can get better, what the reflection. And it's at night. And then, they end that and go to their assigned buildings and, start the night and go to bed. Well, during this one evening that they're having their kind of reflection fire, they're sitting out there and they're reflecting. People are talking, people are sharing. They start to hear coyote, which is not too rare to hear out there. But then they start to hear this kind of deeper, bassier howl, and multiple. The counselor said that, you could tell the coyote from these other howls, and you could hear that there was multiple of these other howls. You could hear the difference. Obviously, a bigger set of lungs is going to produce a larger sound. And, they're sitting by the fire, and they kind of stop the little reflection thing that they're doing, and they kind of focus on the howl. And, because it's just you're out in nature, you're communing with nature and finding yourself. And it's something that, a lot of these people who are now clients have never experienced. Some have, some haven't. And the counselors start to get a little, not worried, but curious of, hey, we've heard the coyotes here for years, but this is an altogether new howl, a deeper howl, and it sounds a little more frightening. It sounds bigger, and it sounds a little more frightening. And they end the night. So they start their new week, and there's groups, and there's also like assigned chores to do around this kind of ranch campus area. Throughout the week, day and night, staff and clients start to kind of notice just a little bit of things out of the ordinary. More so staff, because the staff have been there longer. A few of the clients go and do an outing with some of the staff. They go on a horseback ride, and they kind of go into one of these national forests that this place is surrounded by. The horses start to act a little funny as they're, doing this outing. They get everything calmed down and brought back to the ranch, and that's not a normal thing. These horses have been, trained for these kind of outings. The staff have done them multiple times. It's very odd behavior for these horses to act the way they were acting. They were just on a trail that these horses have taken many times, and a few of the lead horses kind of acted spooked, almost acted like they didn't know where they were, or they didn't want to be in that area. For client safety, they said, hey, we've got to go back. Obviously, with insurance and stuff like that, client safety is a must. So throughout the week, things like that, just progressively. And then they started to kind of see some large quadruped canine prints. A few that this former staff member had seen were the size of dinner plates. And you could see the, multiple of these kind of in the back of the ranch, out past like the stable and barn area and one of the administration buildings. And he kind of had made mention that to one of the gentlemen who worked in the horse area. He was still staff, but he wasn't a counselor. He wasn't a KSAC certified alcohol and drug counselor. He was, you know, he took care of the horses, he took care of lawn maintenance, land maintenance. But he had brought this up to this gentleman, you know, like, hey, there's these large prints, check them out. And he did. They had like a back and forth conversation that, you know, the grounds maintenance guy was adamant that, hey, these are not coyote tracks. These are, you know, 6-7 times larger than a coyote track would even be. You know, these are large tracks. And he kind of got, you know, nervous. They brought it up to the head of this facility and said, you know, we have an issue. There's, you know, large prints out here. This could be dangerous for the clientele, for the staff, for the animals. You know, what do you suggest we do? And he kind of just says, you know, we're in this area. Of course we're going to have wild animals come. You know, look where we are. We're in big sky country, baby. And that kind of just gets not really swept under the rug, but, you know, just forgotten about, you know. So about 4 or 5 days later, throughout this period of time, you know, many other things, but they start their reflection fire. They have their dinner and they go out and they, you know, there's games they play. They can play basketball, you know, they can, there's a lot to do. It's a beautiful facility. But this reflection, end of the week reflection fire is just, it's part of the treatment program. And so they sit down and they start the fire. They start their, you know, ceremony, you know, what they do in the beginning. There's kind of like a little bit of a ceremony in the beginning. And as they are now sharing goals and achievements for this week and for the next, they start to hear that howl again. But this time, they don't hear the coyote. They hear that very deep, very creepy howl. Like just this bass. Staff are now looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? You know, we've never had this issue ever before in all the years they've been doing this. The night progresses and they go to their living quarters. Now, of course, it's a Sunday, so there's very limited staff. All the admin are not there. The director is not there. You know, very kind of staff depleted. So there's 2 staff to each living quarter building, and the clients are getting ready for bed. Staff is, you know, doing their notes and stuff like that. And this counselor is in one of the buildings, working with another staff member, because there's got to be 2 staff at a time, always, a male and a female staff, always, in the living buildings, in the, you know, living quarters. So after that fire's done, the land maintenance guy, he works 7 days a week, and, you know, he puts the fire out. They see him leave. They see his truck because he parks by the barn in the stable area, and they see him kind of go through the campus area, just down, and he's heading home. His day is done. It's around 11:30 at night, and he had just finished up. This is the staff member that I talked to. He had just finished up filling out all of the necessary paperwork for the day. And he's kind of looking out this window that faces kind of the back side of the campus, the kind of the back area of it. He's in a far room away from, where he saw the maintenance guy leave, but now he had finished his notes, so he's now sitting in this area and waiting for his night to be done. And he looks out the window and he sees 2 or 3 sets of these kind of orangish, about the size of a flashlight, kind of color. This glowing kind of orangish color. And he's like, what is that? He's thinking possibly some of the clients are out screwing around, or he's not sure. He's not thinking this is eye shine at all. He gets up from where he was standing and gets closer to the window to kind of get a better view. And he said, I'll never forget, I put my, I was about 3 or 4 inches away from the window, and I cupped my hands and I put them against the window to look outside to kind of block the light from inside so I could get a better view of what was out there. And he said, no sooner had I did that I was face to face with a set of teeth, a set of canine teeth. The building itself is 2.5 feet above the ground. So, there's no basement in these buildings. That they're built on a slab, a foundation, and raised up. So if he were to be outside and, 6-foot person on the outside would be shorter than a 6-foot person on the inside by 2 feet. Now he's looking at these set of canine-like teeth. It was like looking of the, a huge mouth of just teeth. He immediately just jumps back out of fear and reaction because he was not, he popped his eyes and bam, they were there. He gets his bearings, like a second later. He kind of made this kind of gasp. One of the other client, or not the other staff member, all the clients are now asleep. The other staff member hears and comes out, and there's kind of like a little office area that they no clients are allowed in. That they keep meds for the folks that are living in that home, in that living area, notes and stuff like that. She comes out of there because she had heard this gasp. Are you okay? That's a foreign noise, gasping. So she's like, are you okay? And he points to the window. He said, I couldn't say a word at first. He said, I instantly pointed. And as he pointed, he said, I turned back to look at the window again. He said, and the female staff is now standing aside of me, and we're both looking out. And she goes, what are you looking at? And she sees these orange eyes. He now realizes that they're eyes. And she goes, what the hell is out there? What is that? Is that clients with a flashlight? What is going on? And he still pointing, he's got his finger still pointing to where he had just seen that just set of teeth. And they both look at that one area, and they see this tongue, and it licked the window. And as it finished its one kind of like continuous lick of the window, it dropped to all fours. You could see the top of its head very, very clearly, still within, that first panel of glass. It's a double panel glass. You can open it. And so it's at least 5 feet tall on all fours. And now she is kind of screams aloud like, oh my God. And goes over to the window, and they see this large canine run back towards where the stables are. They see that one that just licked the window, and it dropped onto all fours, and 2 more follow that one towards the stable barn area. The female staff gets, obviously freaked out, runs back to the office, gets the radio, and contacts other staff members. Hey, have you guys seen these large dogs are, outside of our building now? We just saw them, and now they're heading towards the stable and barn area. And towards the stable and barn area is the end of the campus there, and there's a gate that goes into these national forests that surround this place. None of the other staff members had seen it, so they kind of, she makes like a memo of what they had seen that night. Kind of leaves it on the book, the chart book or whatever it's called. And when their relief came in, and there's a golf cart that they can take to get to the main building where they punch out and turn in their notes and stuff for the admin. As they're on this golf cart driving back to where the admin building is and where they park their vehicles, he's driving, she's looking all around, and they don't see anything. There's just nothing to see. So they call it a night, check, not cash out, but sign out and go home for the night. Now, because he is not only a certified drug and alcohol counselor, but he also has to stay, he has weekend duties, and it kind of alternates. Any certified alcohol drug counselor, they have to work kind of alternate weekends and stuff. So even though this is a Sunday, he's got to be in the next afternoon for the Monday. The next day he comes in, Monday he comes in, and of course starts off at the admin building, punches in, clocks in, gets what necessary notes he needs to look through, and he is called into the director's office and questioned about this note that the female staff had left. Hey, large dogs seen going towards stable and barn area. At first thought it was clients with flashlights. And he's then asked, what did you see? What was out there? Is she using substances? Are you? And he said, I looked out the window, and you're not going to believe this, but this is what I saw. And the director kind of dismisses it, goes on with their day. Now, as he's walking out of that admin area, one of the it's not security, they don't have firearms, obviously, but it's if a client acts like, if there's ever a fight or a client is out of control, there are kind of like a security. They're medically trained in case anything happens. They have to do a takedown or whatever. And he kind of says to the staff member, hey, I had overheard that you guys had an issue with large coyote out here. What did you see? Tell me about what you saw. And he tells the exact story. I saw these eyes. I thought it was clients with flashlights at first. Cut my hands and looked out the window, and I saw this just maw of teeth in front of me. And the security guard kind of gives him a huh. And he goes to his building, does the night, got a new staff, the female, the girl, because she worked weekends and is not a KSAC. Her schedule varies, like anyone who's certified, and anyone who is not, who is just staff. There's obviously a pay grade difference, and a lot, So this new staff member is now there, another female, and she doesn't kind of know what's going on. She saw the note in the charts and stuff, and so she says, hey, tell me. And he says, this is what we saw. It's not a big deal. It's probably some coyote. And that had, maybe it had propped itself up against the building and saw me, and that, knowing full well that it wasn't a coyote. He said, Jeff, knowing full well that this was not a coyote, because first of all, if a coyote did prop itself up from where I was standing in that house, it would have came maybe a little past, my hip region. Because once again, 2 feet difference on the outside and inside. Night goes by. Folks, the clients eat. The clients do their nightly routine. And they're getting ready for bed. They're doing their notes now. Not the clients, obviously. The staff now is doing the notes. And they hear one of the clients kind of scream this blood-curdling, ah! And see him kind of run out of the hall into the main room, kind of a living room, but not really. It's like they got couches and chairs, but they're institutional couches and chairs. And he's like, "What are you doing? What happened? Why are you out here? You're supposed to be, this is schedule. We live by a schedule here." And the rooms have, some rooms are different. Some rooms are set up different depending on, but the rooms both have, or there's 2 twin beds in this room where he shares it obviously with another client. Now the window, there's 2 windows that are separated by 4 or 5 inches, and then the beds are on the opposite side of the window, and there's a desk that sits in between the 2 desks where the clients can, do their reflection, their journaling, whatever. He's finishing up with, this client says, "I'm finishing up with my journal, and I just so happened to start kind of sketching on this piece of paper, and I look up, and it's, dark, but there's some light from the other buildings around. The admin building has like poled lights, and so there is kind of a light back there." And he said, I looked out my window, I kind of just dazed off, and I looked out my window and I saw this large hump, this black hump, go from one side of the window to the other side, and then kind of just disappeared into the darkness. And none of the clients know anything about the night prior. For safety reasons, they don't want any of the clients to go out there. "I want to see these things, I want to see these large coyotes." So he takes this client aside and says, this is what happened last night. Please keep it to yourself. I'm kind of trusting you. All the admin know. Everyone knows who needs to know. You're safe here. Don't worry about anything. About an hour goes by. They're doing their rounds, making sure all the lights are off and the clients are asleep. And in the office, him and this girl, the other staff, are now filling out their charts. And the radio kind of chimes in, that first chime of the radio. And it's another female staff kind of saying, "There's 2 to 3, quite possibly even 4 large canine in our back here, and they have glowing orangish red eyes. What should we do?" Now the radios are all on one channel, so the whole campus, any staff member in the campus can communicate, so it's all on one channel. They hear now the security that had spoken to the KSAC chime in, "A minute, I'm at the admin building, I'll be right there. Are they still in the back area, whatnot?" They hear how like a golf cart kind of, if it's a dirt road or, bumpy, it kind of, you hear that bed in the back kind of bounce. They hear that, and they see the headlights from the cart. And all of a sudden, over the radio, there's just this expletive of, what is that holy, just a ton of curse words. And he says, I'm gonna, re-get my bearings, going to the first cabin or living area. Be sure to unlock and turn off the door chime. So he goes in to where the KSAC is and kind of says, I don't know who we should call, quite possibly animal control. But these things are huge. These are huge. These are not anything, normal. Now there's an Indian reservation a little ways off from this area. And, he's thinking, the security guard's thinking, this might be, quite possibly a skinwalker, is what he had said out loud to the KSAC and the other staff member. The KSAC's like, skinwalker? What the hell is a skinwalker? And he proceeds to tell him, and all of a sudden they can hear this kind of large thump and walking on the roof of this building, the sleeping, there's a kitchen, there's a small kitchen, there's, it's a small little kind of house. Each room has a bathroom. There's 6 rooms in each building, 12 people per. Now they can hear footsteps walking on this ranch styled home building, and they're like, what the hell? What is that? What's on the roof? There's no firearms on the campus for, a reason. They don't want anyone, coming in, detoxing or still high and, take a firearm and hurt anybody. So now the security guard decides, hey, we don't have whatever's on the roof. We don't know what it is. They had checked their clients in that building, all accounted for. They proceed to ask, is all clients accounted for in their living arrangements right now? Yes. We need to call, local, possibly state PD. We need to call animal control. Maybe one of these things somehow got on the roof and is walking kind of back and forth. Not really pacing, but just kind of walking around on this roof. They can tell that it's not quadruped and that it is bipedal, just by the way it sounds on the building. Nothing goes on. They hear like the noise for a little bit more. They call animal control. He calls PD, the state police, and Montana Highway Patrol. And about 30 minutes later is when the Highway Patrol and an animal control officer come out. There's 3 in total of law enforcement. They pull in, they hit the admin building, find out what's going on, and go through the campus with their spotlight, their car spotlight, and just kind of drive through and scan. Which really upset the staff, but the KSAC more, because he knows that a lot of these folks that are in there have had law enforcement issues, and this may trigger something. it was just a really bad scenario for this area. Nothing spotted on the roof, nothing spotted in between any of the buildings. They go towards the stable and storage barn area, and they see one of the horses is on the ground, completely, torn apart, large bites and stuff, and animal control is like, what the hell? What is, never seen anything like this. And as he's talking with the highway patrol, they hear something on the roof of the stable. And they're like, what the hell? What is going on? We have this dead horse. We've had these, large coyote. And now something's on the stable where we just found this horse that's chewed up. They hear gunfire. And staff is then told to kind of lock down. More highway patrol come out. At least 12 different kind of law enforcement between highway patrol and federal park rangers from different areas trying to figure out what the hell just was on the roof, what they had just shot at. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't make sense of this night. This has never, ever happened. Next day, the night goes by, and, he's escorted to, everyone's escorted to their vehicles. New staff is escorted to their assigned home area. Next day, all staff, it's a mandatory staff meeting called, and they're all told, hey, whatever happened last night had been taken care of. There's nothing to worry about. We don't know how these dogs, killed this horse. Coyote killed this horse, but then proceeded to get on roofs and stuff. And we don't know what the highway patrol officer had shot at, but, we feel like this is the end of these large coyote bothering us. About a week goes by. So this, week goes by, middle of the day. They see this black Suburban and a, not a cargo van, but a smaller kind of, diesel, cargo truck, but not it's bigger than a van, smaller than, mid-sized U-Haul truck, kind of roll in, nondescript, white. And the Suburban parks out towards the back end of the campus, as well as the truck. And the KSAC is, watching what is going on. Admin is filling everyone in, hey, these are federal wildlife. It's a federal wildlife, kind of agency. They're gonna either dispatch these coyote or relocate them, whatever. But he sees the back hatch there of the truck, this cargo truck, open up, and what he sees is like private military contractors. About 4 of them come out of that area, dressed in gray kind of field pants, summertime, black tee, shoulder holders for their firearm, for their pistols, and long rifles. Very quickly they exit the vehicle and go toward the front of the vehicle, which would be the gated area to go into the national park, right? Now, clients are not allowed to be outside during this point. Anyone who was outside were told to, everyone in, and that negatively affected the clients that, because they're playing basketball, they're doing, their activities, and now they're told to get back inside your living quarters and, don't pay attention to what's going on, pretty much. Just don't pay attention to it. That's all that was said, and, the day goes through. He goes to get ready to leave and notices that the SUV and that cargo truck are still parked there. Leaves. The next day was his day off, and he doesn't forget about what the hell's going on, but does his 1 day a week that he's got off, and next day comes back, and now there's a second cargo truck out there. No people. There's no people. He cannot see anyone. He just saw the initial 4 come out of the truck. He didn't see who came out of the Suburban. Just those 4 that came out. Clients are now asking questions. They're just told, hey, it's the coyote. Nothing to worry about. Some clients have called their homes. They're, talked to family members, which stirred up a lot of crap. And per the admin request, all phone lines in these buildings are now, down. No communication with the outside world. The staff are told to tell the client, hey, we've had an issue with our phone lines. We've got people working on them right now. Don't worry about a thing. You're good. Your family will understand. At around 11:30, he's done. Midnight's the cutoff time. New staff comes in. Around 11:30, he finishes up the charts, finishes up his notes. He and another staff, not the initial staff member that was with him, but the second woman, are in their little cubbied room doing their notes, and they hear an eruption of gunfire. At first it's kind of singular, then it's burst, and he said it went from like pop, 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 pop to like a burst, and then fully auto. All within that half an hour range. New staff, relief staff comes, and he's getting ready to leave, gets on the golf cart, and drops the female staff off at the admin building, and, says, I forgot something, I'll be right back. Have a good night. He ends up driving towards the cargo van or cargo trucks and the Suburban. What he sees is 8 of the men now walking, dragging something rather large, and in this kind of black tarp, kind of folded over, and they're kind of like carry dragging it. He's watching everything go down, sees the back door of one of the cargo trucks open, and sees 2 more of those tarp body bags in the back of these trucks. All of a sudden, he is stopped by this gentleman who was in kind of like a dark bluish or black dress slacks, a white button-up tucked in, and a suit jacket. So, and says, what the hell are you doing here? This is, who are you? What the hell are you doing here? You need to leave this area. It's not safe for you. And he proceeds to say, this is my name. I work here. I'm a certified alcohol counselor. I'm just curious of what's going on. I understand that you guys are here for this reason. I was the one that first saw these coyote. And the gentleman gets in the golf cart with him, gets on the opposite side, and says, do me a favor, take me on a tour of the campus. And he's kind of hesitant, but he does anyway. Kind of, tell me what you saw that night. And he tells him exactly, what he saw, how he thought they were flashlights at first, and then he cupped his hand to look out the window and saw this just mouthful of canine teeth and whatever it was, licked the window. And the guy said, all right, yeah. That's what we're hunting. We're hunting, these coyote. For some reason, they're a little larger than normal. We don't know if, they're a hybrid, a wolf-coyote hybrid, whatever. And he could tell that this guy's lying to him. The case he's been trained to observe and feel out, the situation and scene. That's what he does for a living. Now, he doesn't notice this until after what was said, but he said the guy was wearing sunglasses. He said, and Jeff, I cannot stress the amount of truthfulness or whatever. Jeff, I can't, I got this all jotted. I pretty much swear on everything, that this happened. He said, I didn't realize he was wearing sunglasses the whole time. He said, it's now after midnight, and the guy, he parks by the stable, and the guy in the suit looks at him and just says, it'd be in your best interest, sir, if you would forget all of everything you've seen this evening and for the last couple of days and just moved on with, your everyday life. Everything's now taken care of. And just as the gentleman is going to say something, the guy in the suit, Jeff, I swear to God, this is what happened. You probably won't believe me, but, I've never, ever, they've already killed a couple of dogmen and put them in these trucks. But the guy took his sunglasses off, and he said he had reptilian-like eyes. And said, I hope we are at an understanding. And put his sunglasses back up on his face and turned around and walked towards the trucks. He said, I never, ever thought in a million years that, he's obviously seen it on, YouTube where the prince or the queen's eyes change and shit like that. But he said, I never thought in 1,000 years I'd ever see something like that with my own eyes. On top of what I had just seen that, it took 8 troops to drag whatever was in that tarp to the back. And then I see 2 more in the truck. And then this guy's eyes are not normal at first. That, he lowered it and they were reptilian-like eyes. He goes home the next, that night and debates on what he's going to do. Like, what should I tell somebody what happened? What should I do? He calls up bright and early and says, I'm putting in, my request. I'm done. I've got a new job. I apologize that this is not a 2-week, but I'm done today. And he had never went back. He never was questioned by anybody. Never spoke to anybody. No other visits, no other strangeness around where he lives. He's never told his, significant other, fiance, whatever, about what happened. He's never told anyone about what occurred that night. But he's like, when I saw what was in the truck, and I saw it took 8 guys to carry it, and then that guy lowered his sunglasses in the middle of the night. And he had these just evil reptilian eyes. He said, I knew right then and there my life was in danger and I had to leave. I had to leave. And that's exactly what he did. He never went back after that night. There was a day reprieve and just crazy. So he's done and never got to figure out if there was what the ultimate ending was. Like if they had, after they had loaded that 3rd one on the truck, if they left, if they had more in the other truck. Just insane. And, I really honestly feel like I myself, like in the beginning, I truly feel like these creatures sense addiction, alcohol, drug addictions, mental illness. And, I said, maybe they were attracted to that area just to, really lay fear into those people, the client. And then we were talking a little bit about Appalachia. I brought up, look what happened in the 50s and 60s with the Appalachian area, the coal miners, when the government came in and, pretty much stripped the land from the locals, and, those big mining companies came in, made a bunch of money, made a bunch of good local folks sick. But after those mines closed and stuff, there was a large influx of addiction medications and, abusing. So that area was just devastated, and drug addiction became prevalent in the Appalachian area for years. And, there's always been that kind of old lore, old legend of Dogman and Bigfoot. Catamount is an ancient, not an ancient, but an old term. The olden days, that's just catamount. Don't go chasing the catamount. But, the sightings went up, they influx. There's just, in drug addiction influx, it's just an increase of drug addiction, increase of sightings of these creatures in the Appalachian area. So were these creatures that were in this area of Montana, were they attracted to that area just to cause fear? Because they used to peer in people's windows in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in the Appalachian region. They'd just mess with people. They'd attack some, and some would just disappear randomly, but I don't know. Anyway, that's my theory. I believe that these things are attracted to addiction and mental illness. He had heard me say that a couple months ago. And he agrees with it too, so I don't know. It's just a theory, but if you really think about it and you talk to other people that suffer from addiction, the majority of folks that I've ever seen these things, particular Dogman, have, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think they're just attracted to the fear, the addiction, the mental illness, and they want to cause more hurt, more fear, more, I believe they hunt. Obviously, we know they hunt and kill other animals like deer and stuff. But I really think that they feed off of human fear, human emotion. And there you have it, folks. Today's upload. I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.